Welcome to episode 44 of the Valley Sports Talk podcast. As you can tell, it's just me and Brandon tonight. The other guys could not make it, but that's okay because we'll still give you a very entertaining show as me and Brandon have decided to talk about our NFL playoff predictions and our final award predictions for the season. We're currently recording this Thursday night, April the 28th. So not every single series is set in stone. There are some possibilities that other series could move. But we are going to do this video based on the fact that every series will not change. So, for example, Pittsburgh will currently be playing the Rangers, and the Stars are playing the Flames and Avalanche and Predators. Um, Ryan, you got anything to say before we start?
Let's get this thing going.
Let's get underway. Um, so like I said, we'll start with our playoff predictions. We're gonna start in the East. Um, the first series we have is the Atlantic number one, and I believe they're did the Florida win the President's Trophy, or is that Colorado?
No, they're gonna win it.
So Florida will probably be the President's Trophy winner, which means they won't win the cup. Um, but they are slated right now to play the Wild Card 2 team and the Washington Capitals. Um, Side note, every team in the East for the first time ever had over 100 points on the season, which is pretty crazy considering four of those teams will not make it out of the first round.
It's wild. I remember like 4 years ago when 90 points was basically a playoff lock, and
Yeah,
now
yeah.
now it's you got
Every
eight
team's getting
teams
over
got
100. It's pretty
100.
nuts, yeah. So as of right now, the only other team that will most likely be playing Florida could be Pittsburgh. But right now it is Washington in that second wild card spot. So I think this is still gonna be a good series, obviously. You got the Capitals who won the cup a couple of years ago. They are starting to age, and their goalie situation does have some question marks. Um, Personally, I'm going to take Florida in five. I think just the goaltending situation is going to be overpowered for the high-scoring Florida team. And when you have a team of Barkov, Giroux, Sam Bennett, Duclair, Huberdeau, Marchment, um, I'm 100% missing guys. You got Mackenzie Weegar on defense, Ben Sherratt. I could keep going. And you have some question marks in that, especially tonight, whenever the starter or the potential starter for Washington I believe it was four or five goals in um, against the Islanders. It's pretty hard to be confident in your goaltending situation when that happens.
Okay, this is a bit of a side note, but Hollywood Brown was
I just
traded
saw
to
that number
the
23
Cardinals
overall.
and pick 100 for pick 23. That's it.
That's weird. It's a
Yeah, I don't.
receiver though. Receivers don't go for very much.
I guess that blows my mind. Um, I'm kind of with you though. I think it'll also be Panthers in five. I think the biggest thing is, um, to say what you said in one word is depth. I think Florida has way more depth than the Capitals. I think the Capitals have a good top six, but like Noah said, they're kind of aging, and obviously the biggest thing is the goalie situation. Bobrovsky's had a big bounce back year from last year, and Washington can't seem to find a starting goalie. So I think this one will be over pretty quick. And I think this might be the last year we see the Capitals in the playoffs for quite some time.
It's definitely a weird situation in Washington because they are a good team, but they are definitely starting to age.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see that. Moving along, the next matchup we have the Atlantic 2, which is Brandon Maple Leafs, versus the defending Tampa Bay Lightning as the Atlantic 3. I know Brandon is probably high on the Leafs, even though it's kind of hard to be after their playoff success. So I'll let him go first, and I'll follow him up.
Um, yeah, I'm actually like for being a Leafs fans, I'm pretty realistic. I know the problems they've got, and like the last couple years they've been in the playoffs, I've just had a weird feeling that like the streak's going to continue. But this year, I don't know why. I just have some weird feeling going on that this is the year they do it. I think regardless, this is going to be a long series. I think this could be a potential 7 game series for sure. Having Toronto having home ice is big, I think. The thing I've just noticed recently with Tampa is they look tired, and that's kind of understandable. Winning the cup the last 2 years in a row, that's hard on the body. They've played a lot of NHL hockey games in the past 2.5 years, so I am going to pick the Leafs. I'm going to say in 7. Um, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but I just think the defense of the Leafs has improved over the last couple of years. I think this is probably the best team they have brought in the playoffs over the last couple of years. So I think this is the year they get it done against Tampa.
I'm gonna go against you personally. I don't think it's anything against the Leafs. I know you are a big believer, but I am not a huge believer in Jack Campbell being a number one goalie. He sat behind Jonathan Quick for countless amounts of years. He was shaky coming back. He was good at the start of the year, then he was shaky, and then he was good again to end of the year. But in a 7 game series, I'm gonna take probably the best goalie on the planet right now. You could argue Shesterkin, you could argue as somebody else, but I'm gonna say that Vasilevsky sort of steals it. I'm actually gonna go Tampa in 6. I think they win it at home. I also personally like the forward depth of Tampa a bit more. I think adding Nick Paul and Brandon Hagel at the deadline were massive moves for their depth. And then I like their fourth line with Patty Maroon, Corey Perry, and Belmar on it. Obviously, I think the Leafs could steal it, having Matthews with 60. Vasilevsky is not going to be able to stop any of, not all of his shots. He'll obviously be able to stop a few, but until
Oh
Marner and
my-
until Matthews and Marner prove that they can take this series, I'm gonna keep going with the team against them. What are you looking at?
The
Oh
Titans
my
are
God.
trading AJ Brown to the Eagles.
We're recording this as the NFL draft is going on, guys. So these are coming through. That is nuts.
That's ridiculous. AJ Brown, who do they got now? They got nobody. They got Derrick Henry. That's it.
This is nuts.
Wow. I'm shocked.
This is definitely gonna be talked about next week for sure now. More in depth.
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy. Anyways,
Anyways, moving on. I had the Tampa in 6. Moving on to the third East matchup, we have the Metro 1 Hurricanes versus the Wild Card 1 Bruins.
I'm gonna personally go Carolina here. I think this could be a closer. I think this could be the one series out of the 4 where you have a wild card team in it that the wild card team could win, possibly. Um, but I think Carolina's just too much of a powerhouse. I'm quickly looking at their meetings in the regular season, which obviously doesn't mean that much because it's the regular season. But in the 2 times they played, Carolina won both games, and the one score was 6-0, and the other was 7-1. So they've handled them pretty easily so far in the regular season. Um, I know I should never count Boston out, but Carolina's shown it the past couple years. They always seem to make it out of the first round, and I don't see why they won't this year as well.
I'm actually gonna go against you again. I am gonna go
Never
the
go against
Bruins.
Boston.
You've learned that the hard way to never go against Boston.
Yeah,
The
I'm
reason
gonna
I'm
keep
doing
doing
this
it.
is because Freddie Anderson's supposed to be out for the start of the series, and Antti Ranta just got hurt the other night. So Hurricanes have a lot of question marks at their goalie situation for the first couple games, and I think if Boston can get both in Carolina, I don't think there's a really good chance that the Canes are able to bounce back in Boston because Boston's a really hard arena to play in because there's some very passionate fan base in Boston. They get behind their team, and it's hard to win in that building. Saying that, like the Leafs and Tampa Bay series, and even like the Capitals Florida series, I could easily see this being the other way around, and I'm completely wrong. The East is just so unpredictable this year.
Oh, it's
Um,
insane.
but yeah, I'm gonna go Boston over Carolina.
You definitely could be
Moving,
right.
who knows? It's so nuts, man. Moving into the final first round matchup, we have the Metro 2 Rangers versus the Metro 3 Pittsburgh Penguins.
See, I hate to do this because Noah's a fan of them, but I actually have Pittsburgh in this one, and this is another series I could see going far. Um, but I just don't think I'm as high on the Rangers as a lot of people are. I think they lean really heavily on their goaltender, and if if Shesterkin's not on, then I think they're in a lot of trouble. And the Penguins have a team to do it. Like, don't sleep on the Penguins. They're still good. They won the cup a couple years ago. They got a lot of the same core. They are kind of running into the same problem as the Capitals as they're getting older, but they've done a way better job than the Capitals, getting younger pieces through the draft, through trades, and staying relevant. And they have Tristan Jarry. They have a good goalie in themselves. So I'm
We
actually gonna
don't
go Pitt.
know if he's going to be starting, though. He does have a broken foot at the moment. He's
Well, yeah,
still been undetermined.
but what I'm saying is like they're doing a better job than Washington at staying
Yeah,
relevant.
yeah,
Well,
I got
like
you.
they were sort of in the same boat, them two. Um, Even if Tristan Jarry's out, I feel like Pittsburgh can still win this series. I'm gonna go like
Smith has been playing very well as of late.
he has. I feel like this could be a longer series. I'm gonna go Pittsburgh in 6 or 7.
I'm gonna join you. I'm gonna be biased for my Penguins. They have been playing very bad as of late. They are due to start playing well. They haven't made it past the first round in the past 3 years, and Malkin and Letang are both unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. Crosby said today in a press conference that he's gonna sort of take it in because nothing is you should never take anything for granted playing with players like Malkin and Letang for his whole career, which sort of is unfortunate, but it hints to me that one of them could possibly be leaving in the offseason. So I think that will motivate them even more to sort of have that one last dance. Like Brant said, he's not a fan of the Rangers. I'm not either. I think they are solely where they are because of the play of Shesterkin. Obviously, they have players like Zibanejad, Panarin, Adam Fox is a top 5 defenseman. But I think that if Pittsburgh's able to get at Shesterkin early, get under his mind, get him take away his confidence, I think that they'll be able to take this game in 6 or 7, like Brandon said. So I'll go my guys.
There we go.
Now moving on to the West playoffs, we have the Central 1 Colorado Avalanche versus the current wildcard 2 Nashville Predators.
Yeah, this is one where I feel like if we're gonna see a sweep in the first round, I feel like this might be it. Um, I feel like Colorado has a lot to prove. They've been favorites alongside Tampa Bay to win the Cup the past 3 seasons, and they just come up short every year. So I think this is a really big year, a sort of prove it year for Colorado. I think they're going to come out hot. In saying that, though, it is hard to win in Nashville. They do have some loud fans, so I'm gonna say Colorado in 5. I just think they're too strong. Nashville did have a great season to make it here. I don't know. Well, I don't think a lot of people projected the season they had, and I know Forsberg kind of came out to play. Duchesne had a good year. Um, Unfortunately, playing Colorado in the first round is a tough start.
Draw.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm gonna join Brandon. This would have been maybe I might have had to think about it, but the fact that UC Saros will not be playing in this playoff series kind of dampens the mood for Nashville fans. Um, Obviously, as many people know, that the Avalanche have had some playoff worries in the past few years, not making it very far with the team they have. But I think that this team is far better than any teams they've had. You know, Kadri is sort of broken out. Um, you have McKinnon, who's a top 5 player in the league. You have Branton in top 15 point in the league. You have Landeskog, who's going to be coming back from injury at some point. You made 2 pretty sized trades, trading for Arturi Lehkonen from the Habs. They're just sort of that team that is just really good, and they have something to prove as they have been early exits the past couple of years. Um, that being said, I all agree with what Brandon said that Nashville will steal one at home. So I'm going to join Brandon and say Colorado in 5. Moving on, we have the Central 2 Minnesota Wild versus the Central 3 St. Louis Blues. I think this
Yeah.
one's going to be a good series.
Oh, this is going to be. I think this is the best first round matchup in the whole playoffs. This is just two powerhouses. It's so unfortunate with the way that the playoffs work in the NHL right now that these two teams have to play each other first round. It's kind of criminal. They both played such a good season and to have to play each other is very unfortunate. Um, in saying that, I think the Minnesota fans are just so loud. I think home ice advantage is going to play a big factor in the series. So I just, I can't see a way where this doesn't go 6 or 7. So I'm going to say Minnesota in 7. I feel like the acquisition of Marc-Andre Fleury is massive for them, obviously. Um, St. Louis is obviously good. I mean, they got over 100 points this season, but I just think what Minnesota brings and the depth and the energy and the forecheck and the aggressiveness, I don't think St. Louis will be able to withstand that through a 7 game series. And I think Minnesota will take it in 7.
So I'm going to join you. I'm going to join on the Minnesota train. I think the addition of Fleury puts them over the top for this series. As the I think I'm saying this a lot of teams. The Blues have question marks at goalie. Binnington has not been what he has been in the past.
Yeah.
Husso was great during the season, but he has struggled as of late. Um, that was sort of the deciding factor. I think forward wise, I think the Blues are are deeper than the Wild. Defense, I think it goes to Minnesota. And then goaltending is really where it comes down to me for me making my decision on who I'm going. And I'm going to take my former Penguin Fleury over Binnington or Husso. I don't even know who's going to play game one as of right now for St. Louis. Um,
I guarantee you they
so
both get playtime this series.
I think it'll be Binnington game one, and if they lose, they'll go to Husso right away.
Yeah, Bennington's been there before, so I think you got to start him.
I think he's got game one as well. Moving on, we have the third out of four matchups in the West. We have the Pacific One Calgary Flames, who kind of went on a tear in the second half of the season and locked up the first seed in the Pacific versus the current wild card one Dallas Stars.
Um, I'm going to pick Calgary, but I actually think this is going to be a lot closer of a series than people may think. I don't know why. I just don't fully trust in the Flames because they, other than like Tyler Toffoli, obviously, they kind of just seem to bring back the same team every year, and in some years they make playoffs, some years they don't. And they always seem to be early flops in the playoffs. Um, it's just all seemed to come together this year. I don't know why it's this year it decided to work, but Markstrom's been great. That's probably a big reason why, obviously. So I'm still going to take the Flames, but the Stars I think are underrated. Like they confuse me because they have the roster. They're just not putting up the points like I kind of thought they would. They're definitely a playoff team with the roster they have. So I definitely think they can steal a couple games. I think this might go a little longer than people may think. I'm gonna go Flames in 6.
So I'm actually going to go Flames in seven. I agree with what you said, how they keep bringing back the same team. However, I think the reason I'll go seven, I think that the Stars are sort of like if I were to think of a dark horse, I would put the Stars in that
They're up there.
category.
They got
Um,
such a good team.
Obviously, 2 years ago they were in the finals, and they didn't even have one of their better players in Joe Pavelski right now. Jason Robertson had not broken out. The one thing again for me, I'm going to say it again. Dallas has goaltending question marks. Jake Ottinger has not played in a playoff game in his career. Obviously, you have Holtby who's hurt. I have no idea if he's out for season. I have not kept up with Dallas as much as I probably should have this season. Um, and then Hudobin's been in the HL the whole year because of his cap hit. Do they bring him up? Does he go on another miracle run like he did 2 years ago? I guess we'll see. But I think that the Stars have enough forward power to be able to steal 3 games from the Flames.
Oh,
And I
100%.
think that Calgary wins at home in Game 7 in the Saddle Dome. Moving on to the
Yeah.
final segment, or not segment, final matchup of the West playoffs, we have the Pacific 2 Oilers versus the Pacific 3 LA Kings. I know a lot of people did not have the LA Kings making the playoffs coming into this year. And they beat out the Vegas Golden Knights. I know a lot of people are happy about that. Personally, I'm happy. I'm not the biggest fan of Vegas. I haven't been since they came into the league. Um, I don't know. How did you feel about Vegas not making playoffs?
I was so happy. I was
Yeah,
so happy. I loved every second. I watched it just to make sure.
you watched that shootout.
Yeah, I watched both of them. They were in a shootout the night before against Dallas as well. Or
Uh,
yeah, and I watched that one as well.
yeah, yeah, it was definitely a shocker to me that they didn't make it. Um, especially after the trades. Like the thing about them, the reason I don't think they made the playoffs is Pacioretty, like Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, and Pacioretty, both none of them played more than 40 games all year. There's less than
Yeah,
half your season right there. There's the three best players on the Vegas Golden Knights. You know, Leonard was hurt for most of the year. You know, they were relying on Brossoit and I forget his first name, but his last name's Thompson.
Logan.
Logan, thank you. You know, they were relying on them for the remainder of the year, and they didn't even have their top three players. I know they traded for Jack Eichel late in the year, but he still didn't play more than 40 games, and they went negative. They had a negative record with Eichel in the lineup. I think they'll obviously turn around next year and be right back, but it was definitely a nice thing to see Vegas not making it.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna make it
That
next
being
year.
said, in this Oilers LA Kings, I could see both teams taking this. I'm gonna go with the LA Kings in this one. I'm gonna base it on Jonathan Quick's experience, and I think that Kopitar line and Phil. We saw last year that Phil Deneau was able to shut down Matthews and Marner in that Habs Leaf series, and I don't think he can fully shut down Conor McDavid, but I think he can limit him to where that the Kings will be able to be opportunistic on those chances, and I think they'll be able to cash them in because I'm not a big fan of the goaltending situation once again for the Oilers.
Yeah, I picked the favorite in every West matchup, so I gotta pick one underdog, and I'm going with the Kings as well. Like you said, a big point is experience, and although this is a young LA Kings team, they have a lot of the old players that were there when they won the cup. They still have Brown, they still have Kopitar, they still have Quick. They got the they. I mean, Doughty's on the IR. I don't know how long he's out for, but
I don't believe he's
um,
going to be in.
yeah, we'll see. So they still have all the old guys who won the cup back with them in 2012 or whatever it was. Um, so to mix that with young energy is, I think it's a really good matchup for a team that's trying to make a run. For the Oilers, I can't pick them until I see them win something. Like they've shown that they can be beat even if McDavid and Draisaitl are putting up points. Like the Winnipeg Jets did not hold Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to under a point a game, and they still got swept. So I think it's just about limiting everybody else. And like Noah said, the Oilers do not have good goaltending. They haven't had good goaltending for a while. It's been an issue. They continue not to address
Mm.
it, and until they do, um, I think the Kings will have this series. I'm gonna say Kings in six. They're gonna win it in their home ice.
Don't get me wrong, Mike Smith has played great as of late, but he's 40 years old. I don't think it can sustain that for even if they win the first series against LA, I don't think it's sustainable for him throughout a whole playoff series.
No, like if they have to play the Kings, if somehow they beat the Kings and then they have to go into the Flames or something, like there's no way.
I can't trust in a 40-year-old goalie. Sure, he used to
No,
be good. He's probably borderline Hall of Fame. Probably not going to get in just because of his accomplishments because he played in freaking Phoenix his whole career. But like he's 40 years old. It's not sustainable. Like I don't know. I don't know what
exactly.
else to tell you Oilers fans if any of you guys are listening.
Fix your situation. You have the
Sure,
same
you got
problems.
McDavid. Sure, you got Draisaitl. Fix your goaltending and defense, and then come talk to me. Talk to me when you got three cups. Moving on out of that, we'll have to come back after the first round is over and see how many picks me and Brandon got correct. I'm also
Yeah.
gonna make up a edit and post it on our Instagram, like we did with the top 10 segments for our predictions. So make sure you go check out our Instagram to see that. At Valley Sports Talk, shameless plug of our Instagram there. But
Mhm.
now we're gonna move into our final award predictions. We are going to do the Hart, the Norris, the Vesna, the Selke, and the Calder. I took out Jack Adams, Brandon, because I don't really know much about how coaches get picked to win. It's so hard to pick a coach that wins.
Okay, well, if we're gonna skip out on coaches, I'm gonna quickly say Daryl Sittler. He's a beast.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'll agree with that one. I'll go with that too. So we will start off with the Hart, which is basically the MVP of the league. I'll make Brandon happy, and I will go with the 60-goal man, Austin Matthews. I
We're
think
gonna
that this
continue
was
this
finally.
this McDavid hate.
Yes, this is Big Dave is just so used to get it. We're so used to him getting over 110 points. We're not used to a 60-goal score. I think Matthews completely deserves this award. McDavid wasn't even my top three for this pick for this award.
Oh yeah,
My top three were Matthews, Huberdeau, and Johnny Gaudreau.
that's fair. That's fair.
I think this year, Matthews fully deserves it. He's sort of the reason I think he deserves it is because he's not he's not a liability on the defensive end anymore. He is a fully complete player. Like I believe that you could easily put him out in the last minute of the game if it's a tie game, and he'd easily be able to like I don't know. I don't even know where I'm trying to go with this, but I just think he's turned himself into a complete player. Like that's been the question for him for the past. There's been two questions about him. Can he play? Is he a complete player? Can he make it past round one? Will he show up in the playoffs? And he's checked one of those boxes. I don't have him checking the second. Brandon does. Like I said, there's easily a chance he could check the second box. He's just sort of grown into a top five player, and you'll see maybe in a couple of minutes whenever we do our segment 3 of where I think he sort of ranks in the top players in the league this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna agree. We were just talking about the Oilers not making it past the first round, and I think we're gonna continue with this sort of Oilers. It's not even hate because McDavid's obviously great, but I'm also going Matthews. Like Noah was talking about the defensive end, he's excelled and he's grown and he's to better his game in that way. And if you want to talk about the offensive side, like sure he put up 15 less points than McDavid, but I saw a stat over the last 20 years, 9 players have put up 120-point seasons. And over the last 20 years, only 3 players have put up 60-goal seasons. So I think the 60 goals is a lot more impressive than the 120 points. And let's remember that Matthews only played 73 games this season. He put up 60 goals in 73 games. Like,
He didn't score. I know he scored multiple goals in games countless times, but he didn't. If we're going goal per game, he didn't score in 13 games.
yeah, it's
Like
crazy. His
that, he was scoring basically every half game. He was scoring a goal.
Oh man, it's ridiculous. Like, yeah, even if you discard that and just think about the 73 games he played this season, he scored point it was like 8.4 goals a game. Like that's ridiculous pace.
That's nuts. That's. Do you know the players that have scored 60 goals in a season?
OV,
Yep.
Stamkos,
Yep. There's three more
oh,
other than Matthews.
uh Teemu Selanne did in his rookie year, no? No?
I believe he did. He had 68 goals.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's
Uh
there's three more now.
Crosby never did it.
Nope.
Did Lemieux do it?
He did. He
Gretzky?
got no.
Gretzky never did it.
Or
Uh
sorry, it isn't. This is in the past 25 years.
oh, in the past 25 years.
Yes, Gretzky did it, but not in the last 25.
Oh God, in the last 25 years?
Yeah, you're missing two. I think you'll be able to get one. I don't think you'll get the other.
Just for time purposes, I'm not gonna try and waste time. I'm trying to
One of them
think.
is a former Penguin. He is still currently a pro,
Oh, Jaeger's got one, yeah.
Yager, and
Okay.
I believe the other one is Pavel Bure.
Oh, that makes sense. He was a sniper
Yeah.
back in like
So
Vancouver
Matthews
days.
joins that elite company,
Yeah, it's not easy, man. It doesn't happen. Like there's a reason why Stamkos was the last person to do it 10 years
and that was
ago.
in 2010.
Yeah, like
It's
that's
been
it
it's
doesn't.
been 12 it's been 12 years since we had someone score. Um, Kenny Pickett just went 20 to Pittsburgh, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. First quarterback off the board.
Wow,
Pit
20
boys
Pittsburgh.
staying Pit boys staying in Pitt.
AJ Brown got a 4 mil.
Yeah,
Or
25 mil a year, man.
yeah, wow,
But anyways,
that's
going back
so
to so yeah, it's been 12 years since we had a 60 goal scorer in the NHL. Like that just
it's
shows you
crazy.
how rare it is.
I think it's got to go to Matthews after that for
100%.
sure. Um,
Moving on. This is
yeah,
the only award that I actually changed my pick from our midseason awards.
I
It
think
is
I'm the
the
same.
Norris, which is the defenseman, and I have to go with Roman Josi after the season he had. Makar had a great season, but Josi was the first defenseman in 20 years to put up over 90 points. A
That's
defenseman putting
ridiculous.
a defenseman over a point per game. You don't say that very often in the NHL.
Yeah,
The fact that
I'm the exact same way.
it's like being a defenseman. I know I wasn't very good, but just the fact that he's able he played like there was one time he was playing Nashville's playing Pittsburgh. He was out there for 4 minutes straight because they were out there on the power play. They got another power play, and he is the defense on both units. He plays both power play units. Like
That's telling you something.
that's how much of a factor he is on defense on the power play. Like, I'm not
He's not
saying
wrong.
Makar didn't have a good season, but Yossi just had a better season. He just had that much better of a season.
Yeah, I changed my pick too. I was also Kale McCarr. I gotta go Yossi now. Like my thing is if we're doing best defenseman, yes, you got the points, which 90 points in a season is ridiculous. But also than that, like if we're talking most valuable defenseman, if Kale McCarr isn't on this Colorado team, do they still make playoffs? I believe
100%.
so. If
100%.
Yossi's not on this Nashville
Probably
team, do they
not.
make playoffs? I don't
Probably
think so.
not.
I don't think so. He is a staple. He's been there forever. He always puts the points, but obviously not like this. This is crazy. And he to say that like a lot of offensive defensemen are sort of slouches in their own end. He's no slouch in his own end. He's good defensively, and he's just an all around amazing player who you can rely on in any situation. Like Noah said, power play, shorthanded, up by one with the
Five
other
on
team
five.
goalie
He's
pulled.
jumping up in the rush constantly.
Exactly. Best defenseman by, well, I wouldn't say by far, but he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to the next one, we have the Vesna. I think this has sort of been a one-horse race all year. Even though he's sort of slowed down, I still give it to Shesterkin. He's got the best goals against average, and save percentage by a starter. Like me and Brandon said earlier, he carried the Rangers, or we believe that he is the sole reason why the Rangers are as good as they are. Without him, they're a fringe playoff team, in my opinion. So
Mhm.
Shesterkin's my pick there.
Yeah, I mean, already kind of talked about this a couple episodes ago on our pick, and we both picked Shishkin. Shishkin. It's such a hard name, and we both gave our reasons. I don't really think it's changed. He's like Noah said, he's been the one goalie throughout the entire season who hasn't really dropped off, and his numbers are there to show. So, and he's on a team where we believe, like Noah just said, where if he's not there, we don't know if they're a playoff team. So he definitely is the only guy in my opinion for this award.
Moving on to the next award we are going over is the Selke, which is the best defensive forward, and my pick is the never getting old Patrice Bergeron. He is first in defensive win shares. He's first in face-off percentage in his own end. Um, I believe he's first or second in defensive takeaways for a forward. He's just been that guy. He's been like this his whole career, and it's pretty really fun to watch. He just seems like as he gets older, he gets better defensively and better defensively. Um, so yeah, Bergeron.
We've agreed with every pick so far, and we are still agreeing with this pick where it's Patrice Bergeron. So just to switch up a little bit, I do want to throw another name out there. I think if it's not Patrice Bergeron, I'm giving it to Barkov. I know a lot of people look at his offensive stats and just kind of look at his offensive game. But like a couple of the games, just watching him against Toronto, being in the same division, I watch quite a few Florida games, and this guy, it's underrated. It's underrated because of his offensive game, I think. But the amount of big time faceoffs, like Noah was saying about Patrice Bergeron, and the takeaways, and his defensive positioning and his puck battling and all that stuff, it's really underrated because of the amount of goals and stats he puts up, but he definitely deserves some recognition in that category as well.
Definitely. Um, I believe Barkov is number one in defensive takeaways, and then Bergeron's too. So that one's a good pick too. And finally, the Calder for the best rookie. I'm sticking with my pick from midseason. I'm going Mo Seider. I know he didn't lead the league, lead rookies in scoring. And usually, Brandon said this when we went over our awards midway through the season, that usually the Calder goes to the person with the most points, which right now it would be Bunting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I just think the way that Sider has been able to sort of control the Detroit blue line has to give it. They have to give it to him for that. He came in as a rookie and became the Detroit's number one defenseman just like that. He's their quarterback on the power play, which something that is not easy to do in the NHL. It's not easy to do as a rookie, even more. He's not the flashiest player, but I think he's a solid defenseman, and I think he's going to be solid for years to come. And I think that if anybody's deserving of this award, it's him.
Yeah, I'm gonna exactly piggyback off Noah, and I hate doing it, but when we first did our first takes on it, I had Michael Bunting, and I'm gonna definitely switch to Mo Seider. For the exact same reasons Noah said, he's a rookie and he might not lead in points, but he put up a lot of points for defensemen this year, and it's just sort of the defensive and just the on ice responsibility this guy holds as a rookie. Like Noah said, he's the one defenseman on their power play. He plays penalty kill. He plays over 20 minutes a night. If their team's up by one and the other team's got their goalie pulled, he's on the ice. If they're down by one and need a goal, he's on the ice. This guy's always playing. He's getting the most responsibility put on him. And he's a rookie on a Detroit team that's not very good. So to have all that responsibility is a lot of pressure, and he's excelled. And even though he didn't lead in points, he shouldn't have. He's a defenseman. So I think he deserves it with the responsibility he is tasked with every night as a rookie.
Well, me and you are either spot on for these awards, or we are way off, as we agreed on most of them. So yeah, that should be good. And to end it off, I decided to throw in a top five segment. I decided to throw in the top five overall players in the playoffs. So I'm not talking about best. I'm talking about the most well-rounded, versatile players in the playoffs.
This is
Do you
so
want to do?
tricky.
Do you want to do all five at once, or do you want to go five and then I go five?
What do you think? I don't know.
I
Let's
think
do
we have
five.
enough time. Let's do five. You say five, and then I'll say five.
Yeah.
It's
So
only
if we're
five.
talking,
So it's only 10
yeah.
players.
So for
And
my
I have a
five,
feeling we're gonna have a lot of the same players.
maybe we'll see. I don't know. I think you guys, a lot of people might be upset with this guy being at five, but let's remember it's all around players. Number five, I have Conor McDavid. Obviously, if we're talking offensive, he could be one or two, but all around players, like we saw in the playoffs last year. I mean, he got swept and he still put up great numbers. So it's if we're talking all around, I don't know if he's got the defensive sort of grittiness that you need when it comes to playoff time and you got close games going, and you need to like bear down in the third period or something. I don't know if that's sort of his game and that sort of playoff style. So offensively, like we were saying, obviously he's one or two, but if we're talking all around, I still think he's a top five player in the playoffs. It's hard to leave him out, so I'll put him at five.
So for my number five, probably now that you said your number five, he's probably a bit too high, or too low. Yeah, too low. He'd probably be too low. Number five, I have Sasha Barkov. Um, I don't know. I don't really have any. These are like sort of like ones where it's just sort of like a gut pick, and I don't really have like a, an argument to back it up.
Yeah, who'd you pick? Sorry.
Barkov.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Barkov's four. I'll go ahead, or Barkov's five. I'll go ahead with my four. I have Nathan McKinnon, who had a bit of a down year this year, but we all know the type of player he is. He's still top five in the league, skill wise, and he's not a slouch on the defensive end. I could have put Barkov over him, but I didn't, just because I think McKinnon's gonna have more of an impact in his series than I think Barkov will. Not saying that Barkov won't have an impact at all because he's going to have a massive, but with Landeskog possibly not being in the lineup, I think that more weight goes on the shoulders of McKinnon and Rantanen, where if Barkov's not in the lineup, they have Huberdeau, they have Duclair, they have Bennett, they have Giroux. Not saying that I don't think the Avalanche are deep at all, but I just think that McKinnon has a bit more to prove, and I think he's going to be more impactful.
Yeah, I also have McKinnon at 4, for a lot of the same reasons you do. Like, I know he has flashes of showing it in the regular season where he gets a little feisty, but just from watching him in the playoffs, he definitely turns it up a gear, and he's not afraid to throw his body around, and that's playoff hockey. And if you got the puck in his defensive zone, he's not afraid to hit you or take that puck away, and he's no slouch at it either, like Noah was saying. So I think that's where McDavid is probably a little bit better offensively, but McKinnon brings that defensive sort of edge and grittiness that the playoffs sort of brings. So I'm gonna put McKinnon just over McDavid.
The Packers took a linebacker at 22, by the way,
Of course they did. Oh my God,
from Georgia.
they
He's
need
got
a
to be
wide
good.
receiver,
He's
man.
from Georgia.
Of course.
Moving on to number 3, I have the guy that Brandon had at 5. I have McDavid. You could possibly say he's the best player in the league right now. Offensively, I would agree. Defensively, or all around, I disagree. I think that he has steps to take in the defensive end, especially with the defense and goalie situation he has. You think he'd be a bit more um, wanting to learn on that end or wanting to get better, but I just don't see it. So all around, I have him at 3 in these playoffs. Do you want me to say? Did you say 3 yet? No, you didn't say 3. Go ahead.
Uh, I did not know. Um, so my 3 is my guy, Austin Matthews. I have him at 3. I think just he's sort of I think it's interchangeable with Nathan McKinnon. I think Matthews has a big year to prove. This is sort of the make it or break it. He hasn't really shown in the playoffs yet, so I feel like he definitely has something big to show
He's
again.
due. He's due.
He's very due. So we'll see how that goes. But he's due, but he's tasked to score on arguably the best goalie in the world. So we'll see how that goes. But on the defensive ends, we were kind of just talking about it 10 minutes ago, so I won't go over it again. But that's why he edges McDavid. If you had McKinnon over him, I'm not too upset. They're kind of interchangeable.
Um, did I say my 3?
Mm,
Yeah, I did. It
yeah,
was McDavid.
yeah,
So my number 2 is the guy that Brandon just mentioned. It is Austin Matthews. Um, we talked about him earlier, so I'm not going to really go into much detail about him, but he has taken massive strides on the defensive end, which is what I wanted to see from him coming into this year. We all have known he could score goals, as he's done it a lot so far in his young career, but it was just on that defensive end. And like I said, he needs 2 check marks, and he already checked off one of them. He needs to fix his defensive game, needs to win some playoff series, and he's done one of them. And we'll see if he can do the second one.
yeah, for sure. My number 2 is I don't you don't have this guy on your list then.
I know who he
Um,
is. He's 6 for me.
you don't know who I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I do.
Who do you think?
Mitch Marner.
Sidney Crosby is my number 2.
I still have a number
No,
one.
what?
I still have a number 1 pick.
Okay, Cindy might be your number 1 then. I don't know. We'll see. Um, I guess that means I don't have. I'm leaving either um, Barkov or Bergeron off my list, but number 2 is Crosby. I mean, he always brings it. He's done it 3 times now, and that's just winning the cup. He's been in the playoffs every single year. He's made it far, obviously multiple years other than the years they won the cup. He knows what it takes. Um, and I find as this guy gets older, he gets better in his own zone. It seems like he knows the game of hockey, obviously, and if he's sort of I don't want to say losing it on the offensive zone, but he's obviously not the offensive powerhouse he used to be. He still puts up his numbers, but he just kind of he focuses, I find, a lot on the defensive end, and that's what you need in playoffs when you got close games. Again, when you got If Jari's back or even if he's not. You got two good goalies in nets. It's going to be, I think, a low scoring series. And the plays and the chip outs and the dumps out of your own zone are going to be really important in this series. And Crosby brings it. He knows what it takes, and he's great both ways.
So yeah, my number one is Sidney Crosby.
Okay,
Um,
I didn't think you
yes,
had him.
uh, yesterday he was voted by the NHLPA, which is the Players Association, as the most complete player. Like every year, the players vote
I saw
on
that.
different things, and he was voted the most complete player. So that kind of aided me in solidifying him as my number one complete player. What Brand said, about how he's gotten better as he's gotten older and his defensive end is 100% true. He's probably got the best hockey IQ out of anybody I've ever watched, and this isn't even me
Oh my
saying
god,
this as a biased
I would
Pittsburgh
never
fan.
argue that in a million years.
Like you could just tell that he sees what's gonna happen, like 5, 6, even 10 seconds before something's gonna happen, and he tries to make that play. And he's having it's hard to say, but for Sidney Crosby, he's having a underrated season. Like people aren't talking about the numbers. He missed the first 12 games of the season because of his wrist surgery, and then he had COVID. And he still is over a point per game. This is his 16th, it's his 17th season in the league, and he has put up 16 straight seasons of having over a point per game, which is the longest streak in the league currently. And obviously, he's been the best player in the league. Like obviously you could say that he isn't now, but for the last like 12 years, 11, 12, 13 years, he's been the best player in the league. Like Brand said, you know that he's won it before. You know what he can do. Um, and even then, he's first ballot Hall of Famer, top 5 all time. You know what else can you say about him? I feel like I could just talk about Crosby all day. Not that just
And
because
I
I'm a
could
Pens
too,
fan.
I used to hate him just because I feel like as a kid you kind of look at a lot of kids would say McDavid's the best player in the NHL, which he very might well be. But as a kid, like I
100%. He's
remember when I
definitely
was
top.
like 12 or 13 watching NHL, like I was just looking at like I loved Phil Kessel as a kid because
Yep.
he always put up
Philip
points.
Thrill. Yep.
But people like Sidney Crosby to kids like especially at the age he is now, like for a kid watching hockey now, a guy like Sidney Crosby is so underrated because they don't look at the defensive stuff. They're looking for the offense and the stuff he
They don't
brings
look
in.
at like what they don't like the things that me and you look at now from watching hockey for so long is like what the player will do. Like what are they thinking? Like what
Yeah,
like you know what I'm trying to get at?
like Sidney Crosby, like he must have a great plus minus because
Oh,
he's not
it's I think it's definitely positive, and I think it's close to plus 20.
exactly like the guy doesn't make mistakes in his own zone. He just knows what he's doing.
He's on like what I watch. I'm pretty sure I watched 95% of the Pittsburgh games this year. He's honestly becoming too unselfish. Like there's times where I am yelling at my screen, Crosby, shoot the damn puck. Why are you trying to make that extra pass?
I find him saying the same thing about Mitch Marner recently.
Yeah, yeah. They definitely him and Marner definitely have some comparisons other than the fact that Marner's smaller and scum more speed, but just
Oh
like
man, I'm not trying to say that.
their
Crosby's
two-way game just from
oh, no.
they're definitely comparable.
Crosby's amazing, but he is not my number one
Yeah, let's hear your
because
number one.
I have Barkov as my number one.
Very good one. He was number 2 in the polls.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like Noah said, he leads the league in defensive zone takeaways, and he definitely brings that over when you look at his points. I'll try and talk and pull up his points at the same time, but if you can be number one in takeaways and still do the stuff on the offensive zone, like that's just playoff hockey right there. There's lots of gritty games. And I mean, I've been sort of saying this about every player because they're top five all around players. They all do a lot of the same thing. Um, but if you're in the playoffs and you're up by one, 2 minutes to go, Barkov is on the ice. If you're down by one, 2 minutes to go, Barkov's on the ice. He's a great in any sort of situation you put him in.
Any I would say any situation in the game, whether you're down 6-0 to 5-1 to Toronto and you need to come back and win 7-6, he's on the
He'll do
ice.
that for you.
He did that for you.
Yeah, and I mean this guy played 67 games this year. Only 67 games this year, 88 points, 39 goals, 49 assists. Um, He only took 18 penalty minutes this year. Like his faceoff percentage is 57. Um, they don't say takeaways and giveaways on this app, but like he does it all. It's ridiculous, and I think he is like if I'm talking about I'm like the Pleasant Present Trophy, the best team in the NHL. Who's the best player on the best team in the NHL? It's Barkov. That's my reasoning.
Definitely. You could argue that Huberto had a better season because he was like, I think he's second in the league in points. But if we're
I think
talking,
no, Huberto's first in the league.
is he over McDavid right now?
Oh, he's no, he's not anymore. He was. Sorry, he's not.
No worries. But if we're talking about complete players, Barkov is definitely in the top five. Where I had him at five, or I had him at one. He could be interchangeable anywhere on that list.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Huberto put up 115 points. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
he's definitely one of the more underrated players in the league
Oh,
ever.
100, he
Like,
always has been.
yeah, I agree. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for today, guys. We'll be back next week to talk about our NBA first round analysis, as most series will be done by then. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, subscribe so you never miss a podcast. I know we've been saying this for a bit, but we will be bringing mini games back soon. We just got to all get together to be able to film one, but they will be coming.
Dang
So
right.
yeah, we will see you next week.
See ya.